Meeting will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to tonight's planning board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exits, which are to the left of this room in the event of an emergency. Please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs and do not use the elevator. The meetings are recorded by the secretary for the purpose of a record and minutes, so please identify yourself each and every time you come to the podium and speak into the microphone. We will follow the items in the order they appear on the agenda. Extra agendas are near the door. As each case has been called, the applicant and/or representative shall come to the podium, identify themselves, give their address, and then present their case. Planning board members will then have an opportunity to question the applicant. If this case is a public hearing, it will be open for public input, at which time anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding this application will come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct any questions to the board and only the board. Once all public input has been completed, the applicant or site representative will be given the opportunity to respond to any public input. Once all public input has been completed and all questions have been satisfied, the case will be closed to the public input and the board will then move on to a decision. No further input is allowed at that point. With that, will you please call the first case?
Case PB 2021-07-1. Upon the request by Land Tech acting as agent for J. Nigrin for final site plan approval to redevelop an existing parcel into a Brewster's Ice Cream Store with outdoor dining and drive-through on premises 1930 East Ridge Road in the C Business District.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Sharaba with Land Tech, representing Mr. Negrin this evening. And Jay is in from Miami and is here to help us this evening, can answer any questions that I cannot about the operation of his proposed business. I know the board's been working on this since April. We've been here numerous times going over it, both in workshop and other public meetings. And I think we're down to a few comments. Carrie was kind enough to send over some notes from the workshop. And I think those notes really clarify what is left on the plan. As the board knows, this project started off as a remodel, but due to separation issues with drive-throughs and things like this, we are proposing a brand new building on this site. So we're excited about this. So with the brand new building, drive-through, new parking lot, new lighting, new landscaping, and an outdoor patio. One of the questions that's always been kind of a nitpicky one through the project is the lighting. So we understand that some of the light contours were going off-site, which is not allowed by town code. But to clarify the lighting, these lights are a maximum of 16 feet high. Lighting is directed towards the site. There's two pole lights, one on the East Ridge side and one on the Whipple Lane side. And the rest of the lighting is all building-mounted lighting that meets the requirements of the town.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Did you submit new drawings?
I didn't because of the timing, but I do have those, the ones I was going to give you earlier before you had the comments, but they're all revised as of today.
So the one on the board is revised if we need to look at it.
I was furnished these comments today, so we just kind of cleaned up the plan and so both on the notes of the plan, labeling the poles and the detail itself, it reflects 16-foot high poles.
Can we see the copy of that, Bernie?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, but I think the only copy we have is the one on the board.
I could give you small copies.
Oh, if you got the small copy, sure. I thought you were just giving us the memo. Sorry.
Thank you.
I mean, these are very, very minor changes. You mind passing those down?
You can let me know if we need copies. We can make them.
Yeah, they're going to be very hard to see on that scale of map. So if you let me just kind of go through each change.
Do you want to share?
So again, they're very minor changes. So the first one was talking about lighting. Poles have been changed to 16-foot total height, and all the light contours have been edited to be on-site only. One of the other points of interest was the pole sign, the existing pole sign that is there. we've added a note that that pole sign is to be removed. We don't plan on using that at all. The other was the issue of the pedestrian access. As you remember, we have access from Whipple Lane. We have a new concrete sidewalk that goes to a kind of an island next to the parking lot. And then from that point to the patio, we're gonna do dyed and stamped asphalt to represent that crosswalk. The town engineer had questions regarding the wall, and I think the board does too. This site is surrounded on the north side by a block concrete retaining wall, on the west side by a block Versalock dry fit wall, and then there's other retaining walls along the parking lot. So the retaining walls are going to remain in place. Obviously, the ones that are along the right-of-way, near the right-of-way of East Ridge Road, are not very aesthetically pleasing, and they're kind of crumbling down. This is a major project. All those walls will be repaired in kind to reflect the new property. As the board remembers, we pulled the drive lane for the drive-through off of that western property line, so we have a 6-foot green space, and so we believe that the wall will not be impacted. But during construction, if we feel that this wall has to go, Mr. Negrin has agreed that if it has to be replaced, he'll replace it during construction with a similar wall. But at this time, we do not.
So I'm sorry, so you just plan on repairing it at this point?
Repairing the wall, that, you know, if you drive in there right now, those ones along Ridge Road on the east side are kind of crumbling down. I mean, this restaurant hasn't been in service in years, so.
Yeah, they're more than crumbling. I mean, there's active brick falling off
Yeah,
of that.
we'll be repairing those.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is all a new parking lot. I mean, this is gonna be a whole new reface of this property, so.
I mean, I went there today again just to reaffirm my thought. I don't believe that the retaining wall that marks the back of your building is actually in bad shape. The top caps are in a little rough shape, but it doesn't look as if that retaining wall is from the surface.
Yeah,
If you dig underneath, it may be different. I don't want to know.
that's again why we pulled all the asphalt and pulled it away from that wall so it doesn't get impacted by loads of vehicles and things like that.
I guess I'm going to ask you to do more than repair the other wall. I think it needs to get replaced.
It will be, yeah.
Okay.
Repair, in similar, so the walls that you're talking about are the ones that are closer to Ridge Road on the west property
On
line.
the west property
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, again, this is gonna be, extensive remodel in there, and they're gonna
Okay.
replace those walls. It might be the same wall, it might be repaired and replaced, so we might use the same block or similar block, but he'll take care of that. And we added a note to the plan to that. The other issue that came up was, the issue of the elevations of the building. So Mr. Negrin, we've provided the Brewster typical building format, and we supplied that to the board. This is not the actual plan that is submitted for a building permit. He is moving through that process currently. Mr. Negrin takes ownership of this project on Thursday, so he will be cutting his architect loose to finish this up. But I wanted to reiterate the fact that, you know, the building orientation is set. So the order board windows and the front facade is facing Ridge Road. That's the south elevation. The drive-through is facing west. That's the west elevation. The back of the building is facing north. There's no windows or doors in that. And then the other side faces Whipple Lane. So that's really no change in the colors, no change in the style of the building. I got a note that the board's concerned about the electrical box shown on the elevations. We're proposing the electrical to come in at the north side of the building, at the northeast corner of the building, and that's reflected on the plan. And I guess there were some issues regarding and this is a comment from the town engineer. We received comments from the town engineer dated July 23rd. All of their comments seem to be addressed. The only outstanding issues were, again, talking about the wall and how we're gonna repair that. That's comment 13. And then the only other outstanding issue was comment 25 regarding the metal fence around the patio. So as we've talked about before, we're doing a 4-foot wrought iron type fence along the patio, along the east side and south side of the patio, and returning into the building. Those are the only comments that I think that we had outstanding, and I want to thank Carrie again for sending over those comments from the workshop, and address any questions you have at this point.
I do have one question. I don't remember getting the engineer's comments from the 23rd. I definitely did not.
Yeah, I apologize. They were forwarded, let me take a,
Are they extensive? Can you read them to us, or?
can certainly read them too. Would that be helpful? I apologize.
Yeah.
Well, if I can interrupt real quick, all of them say no further comment needed, except the ones I pointed out, which is comment number 13 regarding the existing retaining walls, which we spoke to, that they're gonna be replaced. And if they're in dire straits, they'll be removed and replaced during construction. That note has been added to the plan. And the only other comment that has anything that says no further comment was the town engineer made a comment number 25 regarding the metal fence. She wanted to know the height of the metal fence that goes around the patio.
Sure. If you don't mind submitting
pass
that
these
around
out,
so we
yeah.
can see it.
I can print out copies, and then if you wanna, I'll be right back with those printouts if you wanna have a chance to look at them.
Yeah, that would be great, thanks.
Yep, I'll go grab them now.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah. No, that's not it.
I'm thinking Friday I would have seen them. We didn't get them. I mean, I do know I went to Seabreeze on Saturday, but after having the time of my life.
So while we're waiting for the engineer comments, any other questions?
John, where did we leave off with signage for this project in general?
The only sign is reflected on the elevations. It's it's gonna be a building mounted sign. I believe it's backlit and it's 65 square feet from my memory. But there's no other signs. There may be some directional signs with exit signs and enter signs, but no other signage.
So are we looking for signage approval as part of this?
No,
No,
I don't think
that'd
we
be
need a
separate
variance.
application.
no.
Okay. Okay, that's all I got for right now.
So, John, from what I just understood from your comments, these are not actually finalized elevations.
Yeah, these are technically finalized elevations. They're not construction drawings, so we're not submitting these plans to go to pull a building permit, but nothing is gonna
Okay.
change outside of the plans we're showing.
So, but if I'm approving these plans this evening, I'm approving these colors and materials and everything.
Correct.
Okay, and
And
that's
they-
and they aren't going to change.
That's not gonna change. And then we submitted some other additional information back and, regarding colors and such. in more detail.
I saw the.
We got all those,
Yeah, so that's all the finishes that we're proposing.
Okay, just making sure that what's here is what I'm going to see.
Correct, it is.
And John, just so I'm satisfied on the wall, note, what note actually is that on?
I think it's note 9 on the general notes.
Yeah, that's the one that gives you,
All retaining walls existing are responsible for the quality and function of these walls. Owner
Yeah.
agrees to replace or repair the existing walls as needed.
okay, I want the wall on the west property line replaced or repaired.
It is.
I want that as a condition. I don't want this as as they decide. I'm making that decision, or if I can get the rest of the board to agree with me. As long as you guys are on board with that, I think we can move forward tonight.
Jay and I spoke at length about that issue, and he's not gonna put almost $2 million into a piece of property and leave that wall as it is.
Well, I think it's a safety hazard
Yeah.
if we go forward with it the way it exists.
Yeah.
All right.
So Alan, I'm sorry, so what's the word that you have issue with?
I don't have any word. What I want to do is condition that it will happen.
I believe you have issue with the word may.
Yes. The word may shall be the word shall.
And I gotta clarify my position on that. If you're talking the walls that are generally on the south side of the property along the west property line that
I'm
are
talking
failing.
about the one that borders the parking lot on your property, that I can show you pictures of it.
He's talking
Well, I
about the
just wanna
west.
be-
He's talking about the west wall.
So,
Well, there's
the
two
west
west walls.
no, the one that you have denoted on your plans is 4-foot high dilapidated block.
Yeah,
Right.
we're fine with that.
Yes, that is what I'm
So
talking
Yeah,
about.
we are gonna correct that
Just so
situation.
we're clear though, the note reads, all retaining walls are existing. Land Tech is not responsible for the quality or function of these walls.
Right.
Owner agrees to replace, repair existing walls as needed.
Yep.
So the word may was not in there anywhere.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't
Just
see
trying
it.
to,
I'm just saying that that wall, I don't want it left up to somebody else's as needed. I'm saying it is needed and that I want to put it as a condition, and you seem to agree with that.
So,
All right.
so is it just a change on this, on the thing where it says 4-foot high
could
dilapidated
just put it
brick
in as a
retaining
separate
wall to be
condition.
replaced instead of repaired? To be
Well, they're-
replaced is what you want.
Yeah, or,
repaired, replaced, I think is acceptable, because if they can take out a 5-foot section and then put it back together,
right, I have no,
we don't have a problem with being repaired. You just want it to say that and I don't know which one we're talking about yet, but that
Well, it
it
says-
is going to be replaced.
That it is, that it's not going to be somebody else's judgment, right. It's a judgment of this board, if you'd like to go forward, that we want that replaced or repaired, whichever the case, I don't know.
So which one are we talking about?
We're talking about the west wall on the south portion of the property
Where it's
that
noted
abuts.
as dilapidated.
Closest to Ridge Road.
Yep.
That's our plan, is to repair or replace that wall. That's not an issue.
I appreciate that.
Can I ask a
everybody-
deputy town attorney, like, procedural question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
If the applicant testifies in front of us that they're gonna repair that wall, does that, do we have to make a condition about it? That's my only question, is is that legally binding if they testify in front of us?
Well, you can make it a condition, you can, where were you reading the language that said as needed?
It was in the notes of the site plan.
Note 9 on
I mean, I
one
think
of
if
the-
you approve the plan, you could just strike as needed. Then you're approving it saying, it takes that sort of judgment out of it, like you were saying.
Right, but the problem with that is, that's referring to all retaining walls on the property, and we're
Yeah.
only saying that we want this much of one of them has to be.
And I think to make it,
So I think we
just
have
make
to
it a
do it as a
condition.
condition.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. I just
don't want them to all of a sudden technically be bound to like replacing all of them.
no, I know,
No,
but I just am wondering if
Appreciate
he
that.
testifies in front of us and says they're gonna do it,
I think your question's still very valid.
yeah,
I don't know.
does that, if we weren't to condition it, and he said he was gonna do it, and then he doesn't do it,
Then you have an enforceability.
okay, that was my question. Just out of,
Doesn't hurt to
not
put it
saying
as
that
a
John,
condition, yeah.
Mr. Negrin aren't gonna do it, just curiosity.
Okay, any other questions? Everybody wants a few minutes to read this.
I have questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the newest revised site plan?
The one on the board is,
Oh, this
I
one is
didn't-
not?
it should be close. I might have printed that one 15 minutes before this one. So it's,
Okay,
I didn't think you were gonna be able to read it, so that's why we have the,
so on that site plan,
yep.
is the pedestrian access between the two peninsulas, is that marked as stamped and dyed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then it says here that the plans have been revised to show maximum pole light height of 16, but on this one it says 16 with a 3-foot base, so we're still 17, 18,
No, it's a
19.
3-foot concrete base with a maximum height of 16, if you look at the detail. But you don't, so the pole height's gonna be 16. So it's a
The
13
thing,
foot,
the mounted height of the light fixture will be at 16 feet? Okay, okay.
and that's clarified on sheet 3 that you don't have.
Okay. And then it says that there's a note that says that the pole mounted sign is coming off, but it's not on this one. Is it
Right.
on that one?
It's on that one, it says TBR, to be removed, right next to the light,
Okay.
the sign.
Then my next question was about the engineer comments, so I haven't looked at those yet because I didn't think we got them. And then I'm just going to reiterate what Mr. Evelyn said about the elevations. That you said that they're preliminary, but we just gave somebody else a hard time about that exact thing, saying whatever you show us for the elevations is
This
what
is
it's
it.
going to be.
This is
Okay,
it.
and that's fine. I
Yep.
just wanted to make
There's
sure
always a
that we were
stutter
being
step between
congruent.
what we show you as a site plan and what they go and pull a building
I
permit.
understand.
So
I
that's-
just want to make sure that what we see here is what actually gets built.
Yes.
With the exception that the electric is shown on the side elevation, and you're stating that you're gonna try to get it on the north elevation.
That northeast corner is the mechanical room, so I don't see an issue with bringing it in. that,
It
northeast
just looks
corner.
weird that's the part of the building you're gonna see as you're driving down East Road,
Yep.
East Ridge. Because you're gonna see the other buildings first before you get to it from the heading east.
Yes, I agree.
So I just thought aesthetically it would look a lot better for your applicant.
Yeah. Well, he's hoping it's full of people and blocking it, so.
I got one more. It's back on the retaining wall. It says, all retaining walls are existing. Land Tech is not responsible for the quality or the function of the walls. Right, that makes sense to me, but the owner is. Is that correct? So this, at some time in the future, when or if other retaining walls begin to deteriorate, is that your retaining wall, and whose retaining wall is that and who is responsible for the maintenance of that?
Great question. So that fun note, which I guess I gotta take off my plan sometime and really look at it. In order to evaluate a retaining wall as an engineer, we'd have to dig down, do an analysis, do all this stuff. So we said, we're not gonna be responsible for that as Land Tech. But Mr. Negrin is responsible for all the walls on his property. So the north wall is on his property, his east wall is on his property, the dilapidated retaining wall along his east property is on his property. So he's gonna maintain those walls.
So, yeah, that makes sense
Yeah.
to me, not you,
Not
but
me.
the owner.
Right.
So you're not certifying that they're, I understand.
I might go out on Saturday and help him relay some block.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, I mean, it's gonna need repair in the future, and that there isn't we said we weren't, no.
Yeah. I think once he gets his C of O, and then he's gonna have to maintain those walls. You know,
What are the hours of operation?
I might have to rely on Jay.
Please come to the podium. State your name and address and
Jay Negrin, 7270 Miami Lakeway South, Miami Lakes, Florida 33014. I'm basically following what Webster does. I have a nice little relationship with Mary, who's the owner there, and whatever they're gonna do, I'm open to learning. So whatever hours have worked for them, I'm not gonna try anything different. So.
So what do you think it's gonna be like, weekdays from 10 a.m.?
No,
to
it's gonna
10?
be, it's gonna be 7 days a week. I believe they open at 11. Summer hours are a little bit different. They open till, I believe, 10:30 now they changed it to. And then, I think.
Could you speak a little closer to
Yeah,
the
sure. And every day they open at 11.
The general notes on, I don't care, but just for consistency, the general notes on the site plan say hours of operation will be 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. I don't know if that's changed on that one.
It just depends on the seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds totally reasonable to me. I just want to make sure that your documentation lines up with what you actually want, because that could be a problem if it doesn't.
For clarity, the hours of operation are, I think, outside the purview of the site plan approval. I can double check. This doesn't require a special use permit to operate. The hours listed on the website for the Webster location, for Brewster's is Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. In case, if you're gonna mimic the hours of operation.
Those do change during the winter, though. Yeah. It is seasonal.
The reason I asked is we're going to probably, I don't know if the board's going to agree with this, but I'm going to hopefully put forth the condition that the normal lighting condition we use,
Yeah.
2 hours after close, 1 hour before open.
Yeah. All right, the snow, on the, south side of the property against Ridge Road, is that necessary to put there? I know, it's still marked on there. I thought we had discussed this and we had moved it somewhere. Maybe we discussed it at workshop and you weren't here and we said we didn't like it.
what
I know
note?
we talked about snow removal, and we're gonna try to put it wherever we can, but we have an area that you wanted us to move when we store snow on the site, within the parking lot, and we lose 3 spots in the winter. We know we can handle that in the winter, and that was put south and adjacent to the entrance on Whipple Lane. That's where you wanted it.
Okay, but it's showing on the plan that it's, on the west side of the property now,
On the grading plan, John.
on the grading plan.
So we have snow removal in front of Ridge Road, and then we have snow removal area here,
Yeah.
both areas.
Where's the other area? I'm sorry.
I'm just
So
not
there's
crazy
snow
about
storage
that
here
up
along
there.
the right-of-way of
I,
Ridge Road.
I don't, if
And then
anybody
we
else
have
has a different opinion.
on-site storage here, within the parking lot, so we're gonna have a big pile of snow.
And then you have one on the west side of the entrance as well.
Oh, yes. That may not be functional with a new wall. So, we're not worried about, on-site storage of snow in this business operation, ice cream.
I'm thinking about sightline. I'm not, just because of the way that the property curves around
Yeah.
right there.
We're fine removing any snow storage off that southwest corner.
So Alan, what you're saying is the cars coming in, their
I'm
sight
thinking
line
about the
might be
cars
impaired.
going out, not the cars coming in, the exiting.
Oh, over to the left-hand side. Okay, now I see it.
Right, because you're actually going to be further in. If nobody else has any problem with it, fine with it. My guess is, you know, with global warming, we're not gonna remove any snow, so we'll have ice cream all year long.
We're fine striking, condition of removal on any of this.
I think Alan has a point. On the left-hand side, if you pile it there,
Yep.
you could impede exiting the
Yep,
property.
that works perfect.
Well, not really, because
Isn't this site on a grade? So
it goes down.
you're coming up this,
Yeah, all the water's gonna be going toward the building, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either, but
well, I'm just saying for, you know, if you're worried about how high this snow pile would be, I mean, you'd be, I don't know.
It would only be for people that are trying to turn left onto Ridge Road that would have,
I'm fine
potentially
removing
not
it.
see something.
okay.
But,
He's happy removing it. Why don't we remove it?
yeah, that's fine. Okay,
We have agreeable Mr. Sharaba with us today.
I'm always agreeable.
I'm all set now that we've tied his hands up.
anybody else have any other questions? With that, we'll open up the public hearing. I'm not sure you gotta move, John, because I don't know if there's anybody here to speak to it, but I'll open the public hearing. Anybody like to speak regarding this? Do we have any submitted letters or comments?
We've received none.
Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing. With that, I just wanna clarify, this is for seeker, it's a type 2 negative, or,
It's an unlisted action. You'll
Unlisted?
recall that during the preliminary site plan approval, you did adopt a negative declaration for the purposes of seeker. So if nothing's changed between now and the final, you could just sort of ratify that past negative declaration as it relates to the final site plan.
I would move that we do that, Mr. Chair.
do I need to second that, if it's just a ratification? Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Not with,
Spencer?
trying to help out. Sometimes everyone comes in and no one's paying,
It's
you
either
know,
all or
and then all of a
nothing.
sudden.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2, 3. That's 6 ayes, 1 absent. No, any nays? No nays. No abstains. So moved. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll take a shot at it, Mr. Chairman. With regards to PB 2021-07-1, I move that we approve for final site plan approval with the following conditions. That the retaining wall on the west side of the property, labeled as 4-foot-high dilapidated block retaining wall, shall be replaced or repaired. All other retaining walls shall be replaced or repaired as necessary. Just watching the pencil move.
Got it?
Okay.
Next one?
All signage must come back to this board for approval.
Is that besides what we've seen?
My understanding was they were not looking for that tonight.
You're not looking for that tonight for what's, I thought you were.
We're not making I don't foresee another application. I guess I may have answered you wrong. That's what we're showing, and it's 65 square feet. I don't know where that meets with code, and if we needed a
It
variance.
meets
or-
code.
It meets code. So if you're good with the sign as shown on the elevation, but if there's any elements of it that's not reflected, then any other questions?
Did you have
we can wait
concerns
till
about the ancillary signs or anything?
Well, I mean, only that, you know, if they're gonna say Brewster's entrance or anything like that, then typically, yes, we review those.
Can't you just say any additional signage?
Any additional?
We're not proposing any additional signage.
Then
So
they
no
don't have to worry
wayfinding
about it.
signage or any of that.
So would you like to
Yeah, we can modify that to say any additional signage. I'm fine with that.
I know that we're in the middle of a motion, but can I just ask the lighting on this again? And I'm sorry. How's the sign being lit?
It's internally
Backlit.
lit.
It's internally lit or externally lit?
Right, internally, I think it's internally lit from the back. If it's
Okay.
not anything different, we'll come back to the board.
No, I'm good. I just didn't remember.
Just
Sorry.
clarification point on that. Sometimes they don't consider wayfinding signage. Is that
Typically only if it has branding on it.
okay? So just I wanted to make sure that you were okay with that.
Right, Carrie?
Yep.
That's correct, I'm nodding, but I'll say yes for the record, yes.
Thank you.
And then there was one about the snow storage. Are you going there
Yeah,
next?
so I had snow storage indicated on both sides of curb cut to Ridge Road to be removed. And then I do have one more, Mr. Chairman.
They gotta learn to give us more space. Okay, go ahead.
And last one is that all lighting, including any lit signage, shall turn off a maximum of 2 hours after close of business,
I'm sorry, all lighting, what'd you say?
including lit signage, shall turn off a maximum 2 hours after close of business, and turn on no more than 1 hour before business opens. That's what I got.
And I would second that.
Hold on one second.
Or you second that. I had a thought. If we go 2 hours after close, that's 12:30 in the morning. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Cool. Ridge Road, I'm good with that.
So that was motion by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Richards. That was for final site plan.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 6. And 1 absent. Best of luck with the project.
Very much.
Look forward to it. When's it gonna come? Thank you. It's good to know. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you. Please call the next case.
Okay. Case PB 2021-07-2, upon the matter of request by the Holland Trotta Project and Fitzgerald Engineering, acting as agents for Eagle Ridge Estates for final subdivision approval to subdivide a parcel into 2 separate properties, Lot 1 and Lot 2, on premises 1700 Hudson Avenue in an M manufacturing district and an R4 residential district.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome
board.
back.
Thank you. I'm Ray Trotta from Holland Trotta, 277 Alexander Street, Suite 210. We're here tonight with it should be a pretty simple one on the planning board aspect. We are actually looking to subdivide for our clients, which is the Eagle Ridge Estates, the building that you guys approved a few years ago. What they're trying to do is refinance it, and the bank will not finance a building that's not on its own lot. It has to be on its own separate parcel. So what we did is we went in front of the zoning first, and there were several variances because of setbacks. I could actually go through them so everybody understands. There was the lot area, front setback, rear setback, and impervious area. And then we also, was not listed, but we did in the course of the meeting, the board granted a parking variance because as the code reads, the parking has to be contained to each parcel, and we're sharing parking. So you have to have the certain amount of cars on your actual parcel, and we're sharing parking with the overall facility. So all we're doing with this, no construction whatsoever, we're just doing lines on paper. So this is basically just a refi, and the reason why we're going in front of the planning board is because we're bordering a residential lot. But this whole project, Eagle Ridge Estates actually has manufacturing, it has commercial, it has residential. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of leftover zoning that was there from the original farm lot that was built out, and hence that's why we're here. So the the R4 district, or actually it's R5, I apologize. It is, okay, I'm sorry, I was corrected, not good. But this R4 district right here is this flag lot that is intended, and you guys saw a few years ago that we were looking into potentially building a building there. One thing I do want to bring up on record is the owners would be in the future, not part of this application at all, but would be interested. I know there's talk of potentially rezoning this area to mixed use or whatnot and the new zoning code, and they would be open, that they're very excited about potentially doing another apartment building rather than have these little hodgepodges of, 4 units here, 4 units there and whatnot, and have something that's a little bit more substantial. Obviously, we'd have to go in front of the board with that, but I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention of, they would like to develop this lot. They would like to acquire this, it's kind of the soccer field that's behind the church. And this, that was approved by the board, remained manufacturing because they decided not to convert this to apartments, but in the future, that was their intention to potentially do other buildings in the future. So this really, what we're here for tonight, I didn't want to confuse it. I just wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to be open book with the board of the client's intentions. This is purely just to put lines on the paper so the bank will accept it. All cross-access easements will be drafted as part of the subdivision, so there'll be shared access easements to get in and out in the backside and in the front on Hudson. There'll also be shared parking easements, so really nothing changes. It's shared parking, shared access, snow storage, everything's exactly the same as you approved it, other than we're putting lines to subdivide that one parcel. And hence, like I said, it's bordering residential, or we wouldn't even be in front of the board, we'd just go in front of zoning board.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Just what, I think we were brought up that, the cross, easement on the parking, has it been filed with the county?
I don't believe it's been filed with the county, but it would be part of it once it's approved. So once it's approved, all of that would happen.
It would get signed, so as part of the subdivision,
We could ask them to.
the filing of the cross-access easement, the easements sharing access and sharing parking would be part of that submission, so we'd be reviewing that at the same time as the plans for signature for subdivision.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, the zoning board required that as well.
The zoning, I believe I'm not sure if they specified that as a condition or not. It was talked about during the during your testimony. But my they did approve their area variances required for this, and parking was among them.
Okay.
So
I
the
have no
zoning,
issue with that, of course.
Okay. I think that's all my only, and it wasn't my bright idea, so I'm not gonna take too much credit for it.
Just process-wise, for this, do you have to do seeker as a type 2, or what do you have to?
Yeah, you should.
We
For
have the
subdivision?
seeker forms.
I know, but that doesn't always necessarily mean you have to, so.
It should be, even if it's nothing, right? We
Can
should declare.
we let the town?
yeah,
Yeah,
hold
so-
on just for, if you'll give me 1 second, let me, and I apologize if I didn't provide that to you.
We did get it.
Okay,
Yeah, it's there.
It's
okay,
here.
wonderful. Oh, you did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So any questions any other questions for the applicant?
I know that this isn't our purview, but how many variances and which variances do you need to obtain from the zoning board?
We already obtained them.
You have?
Yeah, you're second on the list, so 2 weeks ago we obtained all the variances. But I could go through them and explain to you each one too, that's fine. The variances were basically lot area, because each apartment has to have 3,000 square feet. So since we have the 20 apartments, we're under that square footage of the requirement. The front setback is 50 feet, but because of this little sliver that they own this parcel too, it's actually 10 right there, so it's well more than 50 feet right here. It's just this little slab right there. The rear setback has to be 60 feet, and we're nowhere near anything over here. This is the shared parking, but that's where they just deemed to draw the line, if you will. And then the maximum impervious area, we're 86%, it's supposed to be 80. And then, but I will say, this is land-based parking, so we're well under that actual value at the moment, but if it ever gets built out, then you'll be at 86. And then the parking contained on the parcel, as I was saying before, because it's shared parking. So typical jurisdictions usually like to share parking, but the code still reads that each parcel has its own parking, and in this case, it's kind of a shared mixed use, if you will. We're well over the parking, or within the parking requirements. It's not contained to this parcel because we're not dedicating that to the.
Yeah, I only asked because usually we'll say conditioned on ZBA, but it looked like there were a lot of variances that you need. And I was kind of hesitant to do it that way this time, but since you have received them ahead of time, it's fine. I think it's, at least from my perspective.
So,
Fair enough.
so clarification on that though. You went by there, it looks like some spots are reserved, or, I don't know.
Land banked, if
Yeah.
you will. Yeah, because what happened is, as I was saying in the start, is that this is manufacturing. They were gonna convert it to apartments, and they didn't, so they didn't have to build a parking lot. So there was no sense in building a parking lot in a nice grass area that's picking up rainwater to, just when you don't need it.
Let me clarify. If I went there, there's some of those businesses there that say only people that are participating going to this business.
That they're doing on their own, and I've had a conversation with the owner that he's going to have a follow-up conversation. They're going rogue on that. That is not part of the ownership. That's the tenants doing their own thing.
So was that discussed at the zoning board by chance, or?
It actually was brought up. However, I think during COVID, they just started dedicating their own parking spaces, but I talked to the owner, and that was never part of the
So
agreement.
I
if
don't
you will.
think that's within our purview anyways, right? Or is it?
That becomes a landlord and property owner issue. As far as where the parking is, who's allowed to use it, that wouldn't be a town.
I'm just saying that we're asking to make sure that the cross-access easement is there.
Yeah, so this board's making
See-
sure that both sites are served by parking spots to the extent that who can use which ones and where, that would be up to the property owner and to work out with the tenants.
And that would be no different than in a residential lot if a landlord had 4 spaces and he said the tenant can only have 2. It's a similar situation.
Well, so long as the requirements for the second lot are being met, correct? So you could delineate them however you wanted, so long as there were a number of spaces left that were free and open for the whatever lot that has the cross-access agreement.
That is correct, but just like I was saying, this parking does meet the town requirement. So it's just shared between the parcels. That's the only
I just wanted clarification.
No, that's fair.
because I
That's
heard
fair.
it, So,
It's a fair question, actually.
okay.
And I wasn't aware of it at first myself, so I had to talk to him.
Okay, and, yeah, that's all I had. I think we put in, weren't they supposed to have speed bumps and things of that, but that's not before us tonight, right?
This isn't site plan, this is the subdivision of land, so creating,
But I think they
dividing
were
the
missing
parcel.
when I went to look for them, but anyways.
Is the parking for both lots, is the parking requirements for both lots? I think the answer to this is no, met without the land bank parking currently,
No, yeah, that is correct. Well, actually,
because that's why the land bank.
I take that back. I'd have to do the calc again because this parking was all added, this was added, and this is all in here. So I believe the answer is yes, because of use. So if this went to an apartment, then the answer is no, but because it's manufacturing, then I believe we're able to.
So that land bank parking was necessary for the future residential building
Correct.
that has not been built yet, and the current residential building meets parking on the proposed lot?
It does not because they're shared between these two buildings. Not this building over here, but these two buildings.
But I think, Brad,
So
we're
we
going
already
to,
got the variance for it.
we're gonna have them file across, easement access
For all of them.
with the county, so it'll be enforceable through the county.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I understand how it. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding what the rationale is behind it. Like it seems like you guys got this, but I'm trying to work it through in my mind.
To break it down, you were on the right track, is that if
Right.
this was approved before you guys as going to residential, we were gonna renovate
Yeah.
this building to a residential units. It was gonna have 12 units. We were under the requirement if we built this as a residential, because I believe it's 1.5 per unit.
2 spaces.
It's 2 spaces per unit in this district.
Yeah.
So 2 per unit, I apologize. 2 per unit would be another 24 spaces would be required.
Right.
So that's what put it over the top. So if you built this, that would be the question.
Right, but the blue area right now, as it stands, meets the parking requirements, correct?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
the red area, as it stands right now, meets the requirements with the land bank parking.
With this, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that land bank parking is on what parcel?
But that's the key. So this red is where the lines will be drawn.
Yep.
Yes.
It does not meet the parking, and that's the variance we got. It would have to go like to here to
Yeah.
meet the parking in there. So it does not meet the parking by where the lines are drawn, but we already got a variance for that.
So that land bank parking is on another parcel that is not affected by the subdivision.
Correct. That is
And
correct.
so now,
It's still shared. It's still shared.
okay,
And you see these spaces right here?
Yep.
Which are,
those are real
those
spaces,
are real spaces.
but they're
and-
on this other parcel.
Correct.
And so that's the variances that everybody needed. And now we're gonna subdivide this, and in order to meet the parking requirements as it stands today, particularly for that red lot, we have to have a shared parking agreement for all 3 of these parcels?
That's how he got his variance from
Correct.
ZBA.
Correct.
So that part's already done. We're just asking him to formalize
they're
it
filed.
with a filing with the county. That's all we're asking.
That,
them.
yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure that I understood how
ZBA
it worked.
already
You're
made
right,
them
you're right.
do it.
And we did need a variance, and it's kind of interesting, you're picking up the same thing the zoning board did, is they asked the same question, is we better make sure that we have that variance, because then something may not be non-compliant. So they made sure they granted that variance. So that was their same concern, is what it boils down to.
I'm happy to, would you like me to read the zoning board decision?
No, like
Is
Alan
that
says,
okay?
it's none of our business,
Okay.
I guess. It's just me trying to make sure I understand all the
I don't think he
components
quite
of
said
things
it that
going
way,
on.
Bradley. I don't think he said it wasn't your business.
Well, it isn't.
Audit that
It's
way.
good we're doing it
Right
now,
on the
because I
side.
was talking about the future. We want to have these cross-access easements in place now, so we don't have the question a year from now, it's gonna come up again, so.
It's just that
we might as well
those
solve it.
conversations facilitate that. So if I want to see a through line for how we got here, I'm just trying to make sure I see
Fair
all
enough,
the pieces.
fair enough. It was a magical trip.
And I did verify, the zoning board decision does reference the cross-access, shared parking and cross-access easements as one of the conditions.
That gets filed with the county.
Yeah, it indicated that, it indicates that the board approved area variance is submitted and parking as submitted, and parking variance, for the shared parking with cross-access, cross-parking access easements and with the abutting property. So, the fact that it needs to be filed with the county, we ensure that gets filed with the county, because that's the only thing that has it memorialized, for perpetuity.
And the other thing is the access is important too, because from the Eagle Ridge Apartments, as part of the complex, you want to be able to have the back side out from a fire access and whatnot. So that,
The only other question and thing that I have wondering about is, so in the future, so now that we subdivide this in the future, we have reasonable belief to, think that a subsequent application may come in the future to build what we have, approved at one point something for this, right? Now, how do we make sure that cross-access between the 2 parcels can be put in place if, we're trying to, if we're trying to make a connection between the two buildings, but then technically one is not on the site.
No, actually, it's a good question, but we're kind of overthinking it because, to your point to Alan's point on filing it with the county, these are forever with the property, that everything's cross-access. So you're gonna have parking, cross-access, you're gonna have access to the travel lanes, cross-access, both of them. So any future parcels, it doesn't matter where the lines are, you're still shared access.
Well, tagging on what Mr. Evelyn said, there was, remember, I'm not saying this particular, but could be an example of something that could happen in the future. And we say, we want you to have a speed table with pedestrian access between the two sites. And then they might say, well, this is not on the site plan, so you can have a speed table halfway across the parking lot, but you can't go the rest of the way because that's not under.
Do you mind if I, as
Yeah.
town staff, respond? So in the future, if there were to be an improvement on the one parcel that has remaining either for redevelopment purposes or for new development, to the extent that the parking lot was involved, town staff, and we can could advise that both parcels be subject to the application so that, the full parking lot, access and, movement between the shared parking locations and shared access locations can be fully contemplated. And if you wanted to put a condition on this approval to memorialize that, and I'm looking to the deputy town attorney, you might indicate that future applications for redevelopment on either parcel, be brought with the adjacent parcel to accommodate site modifications going forward.
And I could add, I mean, I'm kind of locking us into this, but I would, from a designer standpoint, I would also suggest that you add any future additions of parcels. Because like I was saying, if they acquire a parcel over here, you want to add that, which it wouldn't be in this application, but it would in the future.
If you're really, putting the whole thing
you wanna have
together,
access
we
to
want to be able to connect the whole
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah. Okay.
It's almost borderline PUD in a sense, it's really, you really want to kind of add that to it.
Well, plus if you bought that other parcel, it would just be landlocked at the moment without the access.
Exactly, you'd have to.
So it would be
You would
worthless to.
legally have to do it that
Yeah.
way. Good point.
Any other questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, correct? Open the public hearing. Anybody that wants to address the board? Seeing none, was there any submitted comments?
I received no submitted comments.
Close the public hearing. I would entertain a motion.
On PB 20.
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. We need to go over seeker, sorry.
Yes, so, this would be deemed an unlisted action for the purposes of seeker. Effectively, there's no physical alteration or modifications being proposed, in relationship to this project. This is essentially putting lines on paper. No physical changes are occurring and therefore a negative declaration for the purposes of seeker.
Thank you. With that, would someone like to I'll make a seeker motion in regards to case number PB 2021-07-2. Seeker would be an unlisted action, negative declaration.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one absent. That carries 6-0. Somebody like to make a motion on the other?
On PB 2021-072, we approve the application as presented.
With the following condition.
So I'm sorry, who's making the motion?
I have a condition.
I have two of them written down if you
Oh,
want
go
me to
ahead,
go.
Bernie.
So I have filed shared parking and cross-access easements. And the second one I have is future additions and developments must be brought in together for approval to the board.
I think
Is
you
that
should
sufficient?
I think you should say, future additions and developments of both Lot 1 and Lot 2, as well as any, are subject to site plan review, as well as any future plans which are to be part of the development.
So you're gonna have to,
Yeah, I'm trying to clean it up as you're
well, we said
asking me to read it.
future additions and
development.
And developments, so why would you want to call out the parcels then? Because it's to
Well-
all, right?
Because I don't think that we can blanketly say any adjacent parcels because they don't own, I mean, you can't make somebody, if they, somebody else owns an adjacent parcel, we can't bring them in for site plan review.
Would you say any adjacent parcels owned by the applicant?
Yeah, well, I was trying to say, they called them lot one and lot two, and then I just wanted to say, and then any future parcels which are contemplated to be part of the development, so what would,
So future additions
you
and
understand what I'm
developments,
trying to say?
we want to go with lot one and lot two then,
Sure, and,
or owned by
Why
the
don't we just
applicant?
say it under the current application?
well,
Because
because,
it would be the current application that's listed here, which would be what they gave us, which would be recorded, and that we were all set.
but that doesn't, if there were
I
additional
think you're
parcels.
causing confusion if it ever went to court to call it lot one and lot two.
So
I don't-
let's defer to the attorney. Should we say this?
You can do it however you.
Excuse me.
figure it.
Do you want to just move the mic
Yeah.
closer so,
Yeah, I would try to keep it as consistent as possible, but, to the extent you want to redefine them, it might cause confusion, but,
Well, I'm just saying that
Yes.
somebody else could own, I mean, I don't know, like they have some LLC or something that
Right,
owns
but if
one
somebody
lot
else
and
bought
then-
it, it would be conditioned, they would be buying the condition too, just like they would a lease.
Okay.
So future additions and developments of,
This application.
are you okay with that? No.
would we be able to reference the newly created lots? The newly formed lots?
Great way, yeah.
That are being created through this application?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I'm looking for is one, these two lots, and then two, any other lot that comes into this in the future. We want to be able to look at them all.
So any adjacent lots acquired by the current owner or the owner of these parcels?
Sure, I'll agree to those amendments.
So what I have is future addition and developments to the newly created lots and any adjacent lots.
Acquired by the owner of the parcels. The ownership is important because that's gonna be the only reason you'd be able to make application. You have to be the owner, have permission from the owner. And to the extent, if any other adjacent lots were bought by somebody other than who owns these, that you couldn't tie those two together.
Okay, so Mr. Richards, you're okay with that?
I'm good.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Hold on 1 second. This is final subdivision, right? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? One absent. Thank you. Best of luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Town Board referral upon the request by Sunburn Sales, Inc. for a special use permit to construct and operate a gasoline fueling facility on premises 2180 Eastridge Road in a C Business District.
Carrie, would you like to?
Sure. So this is an application going before the town board at this month's meeting. The application was formally received. It's being referred to this board for comment on the special use component of their application. You'll recall that you had a chance to review early concept for as part of a sketch plan conference at last week at the workshop. And so this is the part of the town board application, which requires a special use permit associated with the gasoline pumps. So the dairy portion of the development site is not subject to a special use permit, just the gasoline station.
So, normally this is a positive or negative declaration, correct?
That's
My
correct.
paperwork doesn't reflect that. I just want to point that out.
Okay, yeah, so
I'm going to change it. If that's,
you can, yeah, so you can indicate, you would indicate positive
or negative.
or negative, and then any considerations, generally, if you wanted to add considerations, you could do that as well.
So board discussion? Start with Mr. Huber.
I think we should issue a declaration consistent with the same one that we gave for the last applicant with the same conditions.
I'm sorry.
So the last gas station, we gave positive referral, and then we list a handful of conditions, and I think that we should do the same.
I don't recall what those were though, so.
I was just looking through my notes trying to pull them, and I don't think I have them written down. But they should be part of the record, right?
They will, and I can see if I can pull them up quickly here.
Sure, that might save us some time. If the board's okay with that.
Yeah, I would support that general thought as well. I think there might be something specific in that one that talks about car washes or
Car
something,
washes
that obviously
and
may
stuff
not
like
be
that.
Right.
appropriate, but I
Will
think
not be.
other than that, I think we have very similar issues and conditions around this thing, so.
The only one that right, strike them, whatever, about the car wash. I mean, we might want to be more specific about hours instead of saying consider. I don't know how
There's
other
nothing
people
we
feel
can
about
do
that.
on ours.
No,
I mean,
of course,
We're
we'll-
giving them considerations on everything.
We can't, but instead of
Either
saying,
doing a positive or negative. If you don't want the hours there, just do a negative on it.
yeah, you could, but I also think that instead of saying, I think we said something generic like consider the hours of operation. We could be more specific about what we think would be acceptable in terms of hours of operation.
So let's hear what it was and then we can.
So I'll read it verbatim. The planning board offered a positive referral to the town board with the following considerations. Hours of operation should be reviewed, and 24-hour operation of gas station, car wash, vacuums, convenience store, and drive-through should be limited. Consider buffering between gas station and neighboring houses. If there will be negative impacts on, we'd have to name a new road, specifically widening, reduction of, I think that one is not applicable here. There's no changes to East Ridge Road being proposed as part of this application. And that, to my knowledge, DOT is not requiring, and I'll verify this, but I know that they're in receipt of a traffic impact analysis. I don't know that they're going to be requiring any modifications or improvements as it relates to traffic.
And Carrie, if I can just interrupt you for
Yep.
1 second. The curb cut that they're showing on their concept plan that's on Ridgewood, that's something that, since it's not a state or a county road, that we have jurisdiction.
That's a town road, so the town would have jurisdiction on that alignment. And that'll be something that as part of site plan review, the town engineer will take a close look at, our Commissioner of Public Works will take a close look at. Typically, they look for alignment with adjacent or nearby other alignment with, with curb cuts across the way. The other bullet was conformance with the master plan, including the design guidelines, impact of noise, odor, waste, or glare, the property may produce, and the number of special uses on the site. In this case, there's only one special use on the site. So I don't know if you'd want to carry that over.
So what I captured was 3. I just want to make sure I got them right. Hours of operations should be reviewed / limited for the gas or for the whole thing, right?
Well, the only thing that's subject to a special use permit is the gasoline.
Oh. For gasoline then, so we have to call that out then. Or no,
Yeah.
that's what it's basically saying.
That's what's needed for the special
That's a
use permits. That's the only-
consideration if we're giving them a positive, and actually if we're giving them a negative referral, we could give them the same considerations. I mean,
Right.
there's no reason
And then
for
I
us.
got buffering with neighboring houses. And then I captured confirmation with master plan design guidelines.
And then there was one about noise, odor, and glare.
Okay.
I have a
What was,
question.
how did that say?
It said impact of noise, odor, waste, or glare the property may produce.
I also think that that's gonna come back to us anyway. They're not anywhere near a final site
That's
plan
what I was
that we
gonna
will
ask.
have
Yeah.
control
How does the
over all
town
of
board
that.
consider these things
That-
when
so
they
that,
don't?
yeah, so the town board doesn't have purview on the site layout.
Right.
So to the extent that, some of the things that you've listed here will be things that this board will be able to review and contemplate as part of site plan approval.
So do we put that last one in or not?
Because they was backwards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it
order of
was back, so
operation
take it out
is happening,
Right.
right, so the special use permit's being, is being
Done in a
considered before the site plan application.
So I think that's a fair point, and so those things like buffering of neighboring properties, master plan conformance, noise, odor, glare, and waste are typically things that we try to mitigate over here.
Right.
So it may not be necessary to put them in as, because we're in a different situation.
So we're left with hours of operations should be reviewed / limited, and somebody else said they wanted to add something, I heard.
I think we should directly suggest, because I think we need to be a little bit more clear,
To what?
The hours.
the hours.
That when the special use permit's issued, that it not be a 24-hour operation.
The gas station, the gas pumps is the only thing we can, so I think that,
Well, that's all they're asking us to talk about, so that's all I'm
Right.
requesting for them.
so,
But I don't know what we would do. I mean, does the whole board feel that way? Because I don't.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't, so. And I don't
I
know
do,
what we
I
would do.
mean, I wouldn't have said it if I don't, I don't
You don't
think.
feel, you
evil?
don't feel, well, I missed it, I'm sorry.
I don't feel that we should tell them that it shouldn't be a 24-hour.
Oh, I do.
Okay? Mr. Reed?
I do because it's much more directly adjacent to residential.
Okay.
I agree.
Becky? And I'll tell you, the only reason I don't is there's one right at the other corner that's right next to a house. So
Well,
I'm trying to understand why we would do it to one and not another.
because it's not a comparison. We look at the district, and the district has a special use permit, it needs a special use permit, so then we get to do that. If the one across the street, I don't know what it's zoned, if it does not have the requirement for the special use permit, then it is what it is.
Do we know?
Yeah, that's the one across the street also is adjacent to really one residential property.
It's
This
even
one-
closer, I would say.
Right, it has a building buffering it from the gas pumps, but it's one residential where this abuts a neighborhood, a very neighborhood-esque location. That's my feeling.
But there's also 5 people that wanna limit the hours.
I got it. So I don't know what we would do in that case. I guess I wouldn't,
Well, you could vote
You can vote against.
no.
you can
against
vote-
the, referral.
yeah, so I don't know how we would handle that. It would be a positive, but not unanimous.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would just be.
We've done that
five-
before.
5-1.
I mean, there was a point that 3 of us voted in the negative.
I'm okay with that. I'm fine.
Or you
I just
voted in
don't
the
feel we,
positive.
That's
fair.
fair. That's fair. Can I ask a question of staff? Is this coming before us, or is it coming before the town board, for the special use permit just because it's a gas station or because of
Yes.
the hours?
it's
So
just a
gas station,
That's why I
so
don't
there,
feel-
there's no limitation on hours of operation for a convenience store or a gas station. Our town code doesn't have limitations on hours for that, so just so the town, so you're all aware, there are other gas stations in town that are open 24 hours.
4 or 5 of them, I believe.
I believe it's 5 as a total number, but please don't quote me on that. But I think that's the number. So, to the extent that those operations required special use permits in the past, they may have. I haven't checked the files to see if they've received one. It's very possible that they did. Either they did or they existed as a gas station prior to that requirement for a special use permit. I'm not sure which of the case.
Right, so my point though is they're asking for a special use on the gas.
It's the
So all we
gasoline.
could really, I feel, is limit the hours of the gas station.
So that's the only thing that the town board in its
So why are
purview,
we putting that in there? So I'm okay with limiting the gas, but
That's the only thing.
But you guys are
That's
saying the
all
whole
we're being
store.
That's
Yeah.
all we're being asked to do.
yeah, the town board doesn't have purview on the convenience store.
That's what so I wanted to make sure, that were people talking the convenience store or the gas?
The gas.
Just a guess.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, okay, I'm okay
what
with the
we were
gas,
at.
I'm sorry, somebody said something about the 24-hour
So,
operation of the.
I have a couple of
convenience
follow-up questions to Carrie's answer, if I may.
Okay.
Okay. Does every gas station in town have to come and get a special use permit?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask you to pontificate for a moment. Why is that a requirement?
Because many moons ago, the town board adopted the zoning code and outlined for C business and M manufacturing that gasoline service stations, gasoline pumps on a site has to go to the town board for a special use permit. I'm not sure why to be honest with you, I'm not sure why that is. So,
The reason that I'm asking is because I have a hard time putting forth a positive recommendation, positive referral to town board, because I feel like we're getting a gas station on every corner all the way along Culver Road, and I don't think that the town needs that. So I'm asking if the reason that a special use permit is required is because the town board is supposed to think about whether or not the town needs a gas station everywhere.
so typically the special use permits are saying it's a permitted use, but they want to have thought about the location of the use. Not necessarily the town board and this board can't provide, dictate to the marketplace
Okay.
what should and can't, what should or could work from a marketing and or development scenario. So and I'll point to the deputy town attorney because I think the question becomes whether or not the town board's being arbitrary and capricious and saying yes to one and no to another.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't, I mean, there could be one, there could be a lot, and, you know, it's really outside the scope to say we have too many
We have
gas
too many gas
stations here, there.
But you can say, right, I'm not, you can say, not in this location because of the adjoining properties, right?
I was just gonna say that
School
exact same
right
thing,
next to
so.
it.
But yeah, to Carrie's point though, you can, you know, it's, but you know, the code, it does, I don't think it distinguishes between districts. It's just this use in the town is a permitted use that you have to get specially permitted, basically, right? I mean, it's like it's just deemed generally to be, you can have a gas station, but you know, you're gonna have to come, you know, meet conditions and come before
Then why would we have the option of offering a positive or negative declaration?
I mean, you can't,
town
because
board
the
could
town,
actually
well,
deny
yeah, the town board
Town
can
board's
say
gonna
no.
make the ultimate decision, right?
Right,
Yes.
right.
It's a legislative question.
Right. Yeah, they can, of
Right, I
course,
mean,
they can deny the special permit.
I think
Right.
the hours of operation, I mean, again, just completely guessing what the forefathers here thought what they were doing when they wrote this, but it seems to me like, yeah, you can't really limit it. It's a permitted use. However, there's acknowledgement that these things are going into more and more residential neighborhoods, especially with these big convenience functions on them. I mean, they function like small grocery stores. And that if it's going to be in certain locations, then it makes sense to limit those hours because it may not be on Ridge Road in front of the mall, right? Where it's super commercial and it can be open all the time.
Well, isn't drive-through in some districts a special use, like Muck?
In the mixed-use commercial,
Yeah.
a drive-through facility requires the special use.
So, if this is not that application, but if somebody with Burger King or whatever was going to come into the Muck and say we want a drive-through, I mean, I would argue that we could say no, because it needs a very special use. So why can't we say no because it requires a special use here?
I'm not saying we can't. I think we
Yeah, no,
absolutely
you can certainly make
I
the
think we could say
recommendation.
negative because
Yeah,
Based on the
yeah. I'm just.
the hours would
I
have to be
would
so
be
limited
fine with
that
that
it's not.
too. I mean, I don't, either way, I think that it's, if it were permitted use, if it were by right, it would be in the code and we wouldn't be talking about it. It's not. I think the town board could use their own discretion on the hours of operation on that gas station, just like they can on other things. But to say that by right, if they wanted to do that, they could put that in the code and take care of it. That's a legislative function, and they certainly have that ability. I would like them to limit the hours. I would hope that they would be able to do that. You know, do I think the positive referral is going to help guide them that way? I don't know.
And I guess, just to piggyback on what you were saying, is that, like, I don't think that changing the code and just saying no 20 is the reason I think that this special use layer is useful is because you can tell some gas stations that they can be open 24 hours a day based on their location and the adjacent parcels and what makes sense. And then this allows us to look at each gas station according to the neighborhood in which they want to locate it and determine, does 24 hours a day make sense here? It may make sense on another parcel on the ridge, and it may not make sense on this parcel on the ridge. So that's why I think that I think that this layer makes sense, rather than doing a blanket thing, that's,
So what do we want
because
to tell
one
our
is in
colleagues
twenty-four
on the
doesn't mean
town
they
board?
all should be,
Yeah,
based on
so
where they are.
but I just want a little clarification. So we don't like it because it's next to a residence. But I'm thinking, it was used for a year for the Department of Public Works, which went all kinds of hours as far as noise. So is it because of noise or just because it's a gas station?
Well, we also didn't get any say in what that was.
Right.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I think I have a hard time with it because it was a library, and I think I don't have a problem with a burned dairy going in there, with a storefront going in there. I have a hard time, if I was a neighbor there, I'd have a hard time accepting that a 24-hour gas station was going in. They're very bright.
I'm sure the residents are going to come out and speak
Yeah,
to it.
and so that's the reason that I think I have a hard time with it. It's not so much, I didn't mean to come across as, we don't need any more gas stations in town. I just think that this is kind of a bad spot for it
I got it, but.
because of noise and odor and all of those things.
And the direct adjacency to a
Right,
real
and did we
neighborhood.
get any?
To a real neighborhood and.
Is it proper to ask, did we get any complaints while it was the DPW? I know it was extraneous circumstances, but.
I'd have to check with the Commissioner of Public Works to find that out. I can raise that question.
Okay, because that would say something too, you know what I'm saying? So,
But it was also, we don't need the information, I don't think, for tonight.
well, no, I
That was
understand.
also a
as long as
24-hour operation over there.
And
For the
there's no
most part,
curb
it was
cut
9 to
from
5.
the DPW, there's no curb cut right
Oh,
now
on the road.
onto the
Right.
side street.
Side road.
And by and large, DPW open during the day, pretty much closed up at night.
I think they go all kinds of.
Well, I'm sure they
during the
do,
winter and
but
so
on
forth.
the whole, things quiet down there after 6, 7 o'clock. Not like a gas station. And the lighting, I don't even think that the lights in the parking lot.
But I don't
at-
think they had additional lighting from what I recall.
No.
so.
And so, just from what we've seen so far in site plan review, we're looking at a massive canopy for those pumps.
So what do we want the statement to be? Are we still on the positive with the words, or where are we?
Well, I guess the question is, can you write a positive with enough meat to it? And this is what we always end up trying to do, is be positive, but give a whole bunch of reasons. And it sounds to me more like, at least the way I'm hearing what we're saying, that we're more negative on this, not necessarily because of the burned dairy function, but because of the gas station function and the location to all, the neighborhood here.
Can I ask a question to staff, though, that might help us? Are they applying for a 24-hour operation with the special use?
They are, they've indicated
Oh,
they're.
I'm a negative on that, then. I mean, if that's what they're applying for, would like them not to have that.
And to be fair, I'll double check that they even identified their hours of operation in the application. They've shared that at sketch plan at workshop. I believe it came up as a issue or a question because there's no town code specifying hours of operation for this type of business. There's one for food, like food and drink.
Part of their
just gonna say,
application
though.
to the town board, that's what they would like to have happen.
My understanding is yes, they would want to. They're typically a 24-hour operation.
100% agree with you there. If the application is for a 24-hour gas operation,
Yeah.
then I would be a negative.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? It's all in how they word what they're trying to do.
Yep. So-
Because we're not making a negative we're not I know we're not, but also say it out loud, we're not making a negative declaration on the convenience store because that's not under special use.
No.
The specific thing that they're looking
Correct.
for in the special
Yes,
use
we
is
got one
to
question.
have a gas station, and that's the only thing we're commenting on
If
here.
it's a 24-hour gas station, then I would be a negative on the gas station, and the bullet point under that would be because of the residential adjacency and so on. You know, it's this board's, putting words in our mouth for a second here, it's this board's, thought that 24 hours is not appropriate at all for this location.
Yeah,
Rather than say positive, but limit their hours.
right, it's not
It's like,
congruent
no, they're
with
asking
the,
for 24, then the answer is no, negative from this board.
Yeah.
If that's what everybody agrees with.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
You guys are all good. So I'm not good with that. I just feel sending a negative on a parcel that's been abandoned and we got potential, I think, a decent business
I
opportunity.
think we're still gonna get a
All we're
burned dairy
saying, Bert,
there.
That's okay, we can make it
What
negative,
we're
but
saying is we're negative on the 24-hour operation of the gas pumps, period.
Right.
So all the board can, so that if the town board hears us,
yeah.
then what they come back with is they say, okay, well, we agree with Bernie that this should be a developed site and it's a good use and Burn Dairy's great and the convenience store is great, so therefore we will give them the special use but limit their hours to closing at 11.
That's okay.
That's
And the
the
only thing I
debate.
disagree with, to me, it's on a major corridor, and I think any of the residents that move there know that these things are possibilities there, but that's my opinion. And
I thought
just-
that too. I thought that too until I went over there and I noticed that that side street, there's maybe 2 or 3 houses that are behind the Walgreens that look over at, I know it's a parking lot, right? But that's not necessarily desirable right now, and it's an abandoned parking lot by and large. But it's
I
not,
don't think the parcel right now is attractive at all.
it's
so-
not
Right, but Walgreens
10
isn't
or
even
however many, 8
Operation.
pumps with
Walgreens isn't even-
lighting and
But the other point
cars who are going to be using that 24/7, and cars can pull up and they might leave their radio on while they're pumping gas, and they might leave the car and they might have loud mufflers and they go into the convenience store, and that's not something they're dealing with right now.
Personally, I was more, if I was gonna be concerned on something, to me, it would be the potential crime, but I don't know if we can go there, right? 24 hours, is it
Well,
properly
certainly,
secured?
yeah, as far as a justification, yes, we certainly could use that. That's a legitimate police function. So,
Well, I'm talking about, but we're gonna
Yeah,
discuss all the design plan, we're gonna discuss all the odors, the noise, and
I
our
think
site
that we
plan.
offered up the positive referral last time and got nowhere on the limited hours. I think a negative
Well,
is
actually, the
appropriate.
car wash got limited, so we did.
Yeah, I know, that was
I
one
felt like
out
it
of
went on
many
that.
things.
I look for victories along the way. But anyways, if the board wants to go with negative, that's fine, but it's just gonna
Well,
be. it's
and
not
I
gonna
do
be
think,
unanimous.
like what Spencer was saying about the specificity of this, is that there's a bunch of other things that we aren't gonna put in this because we can address them through site plan. This hours thing sometimes can be funny with site plan review, whether or not it's something, sometimes we can, I don't know, whether or not we can set hours through site plan review is a little bit messy. So if we want to do something about hours, we have to do it now, because these other things we'll probably deal with the site plan,
The
but
gas
not the
station,
hours.
Yeah, I think we're good, and that's the only thing we're being asked.
Right, the town board, as part of its consideration of the use, can consider the operation and therefore impose limit on hours. And so that's something that we've seen in other special use permits that the town board has issued, where they've set the hours, or they've indicated that the hours that were included in an application are part of that approval. So hours of operation is a town board function as part of the special use permit issuance.
Okay, so I think what we have is a negative recommendation on the 24-hour gas,
Yes.
and it's at 5-1. So it wasn't unanimous.
Did you want to specify the considerations?
I would, because I think it's important to specify that.
Right.
Because we're saying we're negative on the 24-hour operation
Of the gas station,
of the gas station
because of the
based
juxtaposition.
on the fact that its location to the residential, based on the location of the residential neighborhood.
Adjacent to a residential neighborhood, and it also has a curb cut into a town, a neighborhood street, I guess we'll call it.
Yep.
which is different also than other gas stations that we looked at.
And I would be okay with saying something about limited hours of operation may change that. I wouldn't have a
Yeah,
problem putting
yeah,
that in there.
yeah.
I don't mind putting words in their mouth for them and
Yeah.
saying, this is what we're thinking, but I prefer to do it in a negative way so they hear us more loudly and clearly.
Yeah.
So I got 24-hour, or negative, 24-hour gas station operation based on the location to the residential neighborhood and curb cut to a residential street. Anything else?
I think we should say limited hours of operation. No,
I would just
I
let
wouldn't.
it go.
I'd leave
Well, I
it
was
right-
gonna say, you're
I'd
almost
leave it
getting
right
back to
where
that
it is.
positive talk, so,
Yeah,
okay, fine.
I think we're good.
which I was okay with some of the positive talk, but not the negative. Okay. So, do I have to take a motion on that? No, I just poll?
I have something to add. That, the one across the street on Titus, the one across from your area on Endicott there, they have the town board, I believe, put a limitation on when gas tanks can come and unload, because they come at goofy hours, so you might wanna suggest that to them, the town board,
we
to
can
look
do
at
that
the
on
hours.
site.
We can do that in site plan, can't we, with the noise and
It's
pollution?
stronger, I agree with you, it's stronger during,
That's also an operational component, so to the extent that it's something that impacts the operation of the site.
So fuel delivery should be, is the word limited?
because sometimes they come at wee hours of the morning.
Well, if we're
and
saying that
so-
it's negative though.
Right.
You're saying they don't want it at all?
No, you gotta have gas, but they don't have to come at 3 in the morning.
Right, but we're
I
not,
can
we're
tell
not
you
at
from-
that part of the
I can
question,
tell
I
you
don't think,
from
Donna.
dealing with logistics of materials, you can say whatever you want about what time the trucks are gonna come. You're not gonna control that.
I think what I'm hearing is, let me make sure, I think what you're saying is, you're saying negative to the 24 hours, but it's still gonna be a gas station. You should also say you don't want fuel deliveries in the wee hours, or you want fuel hours during normal business hours, or?
Right, I'm assuming that they're gonna agree with you and limit the hours, but then say also consider when tankers come, that's all. Because it's so close to the residents.
Does the board,
That's the way it is over at 7-Eleven.
You said it was operational, so.
It's possible, I mean, I would have to double check with the town attorney, and no offense to deputy town attorney, but the town attorney would be the one serving the town board. So we can verify that. And then to the extent that this has been raised is on the record, we can point that out to if it's not part of the referral, it could be something that's provided as input or feedback while that's, during the public hearing component of the special use permit.
So, is the threshold for when we can address hours of an item's operation during site plan review, is it predicated on the fact that it's on the site plan? Like, how come sometimes we can do that and sometimes we don't? Like, for instance, a set of vacuums at another location, we said this has to end by whatever o'clock. Why, if we felt like this fuel delivery was an issue, is that something we would be able to address during site plan or no?
Yeah, I'd have to double check on it. I think there, like you're saying, there is a lot of gray area though when you get between operation versus is this more of a safety or a concern for the surrounding area. I think there is a lot of overlap in that, and that might be why sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But I would have to double check as Carrie was saying about the scope of what is their operational purview and how much of that falls back to site plan.
I should say it was the planning board who made up about the tankers for 7-Eleven, and the applicant agreed because they wanted the permit, so, the approval, so it was the planning board.
yeah, that's where, I mean, we can, I think it lends for great persuasion, as Donna has indicated there.
So do you wanna say something about the hours of tanker operation, or no?
I don't, because then we've gotta get into the fact
I was
that we
gonna-
have to say, if you limit the hours, then
Right,
we said
no,
no,
I
that
think
was,
we've given them a negative declaration because of their juxtaposition to the,
Well, and the special use is
The,
asking for a
neighborhood.
gas station, it's not asking for delivery of fuel, right? So we're just saying, you can't have the gas station, 24/7, and then the rest of it we can needle into with, site plan.
I'm good unless deputy town attorney thinks that we should have additional backup on this.
Yeah,
It's a referral, it's not, we're not making a ruling here.
yeah, I mean, I think they're probably, like you said, they're gonna consider, you know, what you're saying anyway. It seems like the way you wanna draft it is you want it to have a little bit more teeth, so you're saying no to as submitted. They can, town board can consider it how they will.
And I mean, if you want additional justification, we can include the safety concerns that you raised, Bernie. Hey, they're your words. If you want to wear them, I'm happy to put them on you.
I think, I just think when and if this comes before us, that's something we should talk about. Because even the 24-hour operations, I stopped at a couple. Some, the pumps are open, but the store is locked, and you have to go through a window, and I'm just not sure what their operation is here. You know what I'm trying to say? So I don't even know in that one corner how it works, but those are things that I thought we would get into when we get to the operation. So I think the one on Carter, if I'm correct, Carter and Ridge Road East, it's 24 hours for gas, but and that's all, no residential at all. But if you want something from the store, you got to ask for it through a window. So the store is not open for whatever reason. I'm sure that's safety for something, but I don't know.
Yeah. Do you need a motion? Do you need us to make
I was just going to ask, do I have to take a roll call or?
Wait, you indicated what the referral was, and you provided the considerations, and so I think you just need to take a vote on it. It sounded like you don't need a roll call, but you would, I mean, you can, I don't think you did all those in favor. I think you just did a head count in your mind.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Do you need a second on your motion?
Oh, I need a second.
I'm
no,
sorry.
on these, we don't take first and seconds, do we?
Typically we do.
I'll offer you the second regardless.
So who was the first, Mr. Richards?
Sure.
Don't sound so excited about it.
All those in favor of a negative declaration, please say aye.
For the record, it's a negative
A
referral.
negative referral.
Yeah,
Thank you.
declaration gets into seeker land, so I'd like not to do that, so it's,
Negative referral.
yeah, thank you.
All those say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And we have one absent.
Just for posterity's sake, you voted nay, or you were asking for nays?
I voted nay. I said nay. I asked for nay and said nay.
You were so fast I didn't miss you.
Can I
Okay.
ask or request that in the future, when and if we get one of these types of things,
Yes.
is there any more specific, I mean, knowing what the application was
Yeah,
to
if we
the
could
town
just get the
board,
language on the
I
referral,
think
that would be
helps us a
helpful
lot more
to answer the
question.
question.
So forgive me for, say that one more time.
So like Alan asked, you know, is the application in for 24-hour operation? To me, that right there is what we're deciding upon.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I'll pull the file. I don't know if they specified their hours of operation, because typically they don't have to, as part of an application, do that, because special use permits saying this is the use, and the use itself needs a special use permit. And so unless the town board is interested and wants to know what the hours of operation, or that's a concern for them, then it would not necessarily have to be included as part of their original application. Usually through the referral process or through the town board, it would come out as an issue or a concern. But it's not necessary or required for them to identify that as part of their application. If that's the request, that's a different request to change the application so that it's asked for.
But in this case, he told us in the sketch plan.
I believe it came up in sketch plan. I don't know that it was actually enumerated in their application to the town board.
But I mean, think it would be fair for the board to take into account that he told us that, so, right, so, correct?
Yeah. No, it's appropriate to, now that you have the information, it's appropriate to consider it.
Do we?
Okay. I don't see any other business before the board. I don't see any minutes.
Nope,
Motion
we'll
to
catch up
close.
with minutes, at next meeting.
Okay, with that, close the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Meeting closed.
Hey, Carrie, just in all fairness, I am going to be suggesting some major changes to the site plan for the applicant on the burned dairy and relocating the buildings. All right, just to let you know, you should have never sent me over to Maiden and Fetzner. His own fault. But, yeah, I think there's ways to improve that for the neighborhood and for the town. So I'm gonna make those those suggestions. I'll get them to you tomorrow. If you don't mind forwarding them on to the applicant, that would
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, happy to forward them on.
Thank you.
Are we done with our T Masters, or is that preliminary? Do I need?
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Planning Board on ICAT,